The wheels of her suitcase echoed softly as they rolled across the sidewalk, clicking over uneven pavement. It was just past 5 p.m., and the golden haze of a quiet Sunday afternoon bathed the neighborhood in a warm, sleepy glow. Mira let out a tired sigh, half smiling to herself. She was glad to be home. Her weekend getaway had been spontaneous. 2 nights in a small cabin upstate. No signal, no emails, just books and silence. It was exactly what she needed to reset. She turned the corner and caught sight of her house, the one with the crooked mailbox and the cracked flower pot on the porch. Her pace quickened. She could already picture her slippers waiting by the door, the scent of that old vanilla candle she never threw out, and the soft creak the hallway floor made when you stepped just right. She reached the steps and climbed them, her fingers brushing over the familiar chipped railing. One press of the doorbell. A small buzz. A few seconds passed. Then the door opened, and a man she had never seen in her life was standing there. Mira blinked. For a second she thought maybe she was still tired. Maybe the drive home had scrambled her brain, or the weekend alone had made her forget what her own front door looked like. But no, this was her porch, her chipped blue welcome mat, her porch light with the crack in the corner, her home. But the man standing in the doorway wasn't part of that picture. He looked to be in his mid-30s, tall, dressed in a soft grey sweater and jeans. His hair was damp, like he had just stepped out of the shower, and his face held no hint of threat. Just calm. Politeness, even. His brow furrowed gently as he studied her. "I think you might have the wrong house," he said, voice low and deliberate, as if trying not to alarm her. She shook her head slowly. "No. This is 148 Rose Hill. This is my house." The man stepped slightly forward, glancing at the number plate beside the door. "This is 148 Rose Hill," he agreed, nodding. "But I've lived here for 3 years." Mira felt her fingers tighten around the suitcase handle. Her mouth went dry. "No," she said, her voice now smaller. "I just left on Friday. My name is Mira. My mail's in that box. My cat's in there." "I'm sorry," he interrupted gently. "There's no mail. And there's no cat." The light breeze suddenly felt too cold. She took a small step back. This wasn't confusion anymore. This was something else. She looked past him, into her house. Except, it didn't look like her house at all. Mira didn't move. Her heart beat a little too fast for the stillness of the street. "I know this house," she said firmly. "There's a dent on the side of the door frame from when I dropped my bike 2 years ago." The man turned slowly, eyes tracing the edge of the door. His fingers brushed the frame and stopped. A faint, crescent-shaped dent, smoothed by time, but still there. He looked back at her, visibly unsettled now. "And the mailbox," she continued, pointing without stepping forward. "The red flag, it sticks, always has." He crouched, flicked the tiny flag upward. It popped halfway and stopped, jammed. He stood up slower than before, not saying anything. "There's a squeaky floorboard right when you step in. First tile past the rug, you can't miss it." The man hesitated, then opened the door wider. Mira's eyes immediately jumped past him. But the hallway beyond was not hers. The walls were white, too white. The gallery wall of vintage postcards was gone. The deep red runner had been replaced by a minimalist beige mat, and the little ceramic cat statue, the one she found at a flea market in Prague, nowhere in sight. The man stepped in and pressed down, no sound, no squeak. "Look, I don't know what's going on," he said slowly, "but maybe you need to—" She was already at the door, fumbling with her key.
It slid in. Wrong. She tried again. Another key. Nothing. "It's the right set," she muttered, hands shaking. "These are my keys. This is my house. This doesn't make any sense." The man gently placed his hand on the doorknob. "I think you need help," he said softly. Mira took a step back, eyes wide. She suddenly felt like a trespasser in her own life. Everything was off, and yet it all looked right.
The dispatcher's voice was calm, detached, too normal for something so unreal. "Yes, ma'am, an officer will be there shortly. Stay put." Stay put. Mira was standing outside a house that didn't recognize her. Within minutes, a cruiser rolled up. 2 officers stepped out, one older, steady in movement, the other younger, scanning everything like a rookie who'd seen too many movies. Mira approached before they even spoke. "I live here. That man, he's in my house. My furniture is gone. My keys don't work. But this is my home." The officers exchanged a look, not suspicion, not disbelief, just patience. The older one spoke first. "Ma'am, can we see some ID?" She dug into her purse, hands trembling. Yes, of course." She pulled out her wallet, held up her license. "This is me. That's my address. That's my house." The man from the doorway stepped out, now holding a small file folder. "I didn't want this to get out of hand," he said to the officers, "but I've got my lease, my driver's license, even my move-in inspection report from 6 months ago." He handed it all over. The younger cop flipped through the papers. Everything lined up. His name, the address, the date. Mira's voice cracked. "This is a mistake. I don't know what this is, but something is wrong." The older officer stepped away to run her ID through the system. A minute passed, then 2. He came back slowly, eyes a little more alert now. "Mira Hassan?" he asked carefully. She nodded. "Yes." He held up his device, glancing between her and the screen. "You were reported missing 5 days ago." "What?" "It says you were found 2 days ago by a relative. Your file was updated. Case closed." Mira blinked. "That's not possible. I was at a cabin, alone, no phone signal, no Wi-Fi. I just got back." The younger officer looked visibly uncomfortable now. "Who reported you missing?" He read the name off the screen. Her sister. The same sister who hadn't returned her calls in over a year. Mira sat in the corner of a 24-hour diner, the buzz of the old fluorescent lights flickering above her like a nervous heartbeat. Her coffee sat untouched, going cold. Her fingers gripped her phone like a lifeline, even though it now felt more like a stranger in her hand. She dialed work. It rang. Then a familiar voice answered. "Jared, hi. It's me, Mira." A pause, then a laugh, polite but confused. "Sorry." "Who?" "Jared. It's Mira, Mira Hassan. I'm calling to tell you something happened, something weird, but I'm okay." More silence. "You already resigned last week," he finally said. "What?" "You came in. We had coffee. You said you were leaving for something better. You even hugged me goodbye." She pressed the phone tighter against her ear. "Jared, I was away. I didn't call you. I didn't come in. What are you talking about?" I don't know what kind of joke this is," he said, voice firm now. "But we talked, I remember it." Mira hung up. She opened her call log. Blank, entirely blank. No calls in or out. Not to Jared, not to anyone. Like the last week had been erased. She stared at her screen, then stood up with sudden urgency. Minutes later, she reached her old apartment building. The manager on duty was new. She hadn't seen him before, but she gave her name confidently. "I used to live in 3B, she said. "Mira Hassan. I just need to grab something I left in the mail." He looked at her like she was speaking another language. "I've been managing here 2 years. Never had a Mira Hassan in 3B. "But I've lived here for 4. He turned the monitor toward her, scrolled through tenant records. Apartment 3B was listed to someone else, had been for over a year. Mira stared at the screen. Her name wasn't just missing. It was gone. The wind had picked up. Mira walked the block like a ghost, retracing her own footsteps, her suitcase dragging behind her like an anchor. She didn't know where else to go. Not her apartment, not work, not even her own memories felt safe now. She rounded the corner toward the house again. Her house. The man was standing in the yard, watering the front hedges. Calm. Casual. Like he belonged. She froze. He turned and offered a small, friendly wave. "Hey, Mira, right?" Her stomach dropped. "You remembered my name." He tilted his head like it wasn't a big deal. "Yeah, you mentioned it earlier." She stepped closer, tension coiling in her shoulders. Then he smiled. "Funny thing, I think your cat likes me. Took me a couple days, but I finally got her to come out from under the bed. Shadow, right?" Mira's breath caught. Shadow. She hadn't said her cat's name, not once. Not to him. Not to anyone since she'd gotten back. "Excuse me," she asked, her voice trembling. "I said Shadow, cute little thing, green eyes, kind of skittish, but warming up." She tried to keep her voice steady. "How do you know that name?" He blinked, clearly confused. "You told me earlier." "No," she said. "No, I didn't." His face changed then. Not threatening, just uncomfortable. "Sorry. I must have read it somewhere. Vet file, maybe. I didn't mean to upset you." But it did upset her. Deeply. She backed away, heart hammering. There was no vet file. She never left Shadow's info anywhere outside the house. No photos online. No notes. Nothing. How did he know? Had he followed her? Was he watching her before she left? Or had she told him? A horrible thought began to bloom. Not about him, about herself, about the gaps in her memory, the haze over the past few days, about what she might have said or done or forgotten. Mira turned and walked away fast, not trusting the ground under her feet or the thoughts in her head. Behind her, the man called after her softly. "Hope you're okay, Mira." She didn't answer, because she wasn't. It was well past midnight when Mira returned. The street was silent, save for the low hum of a flickering street lamp 2 doors down. She wore black. No suitcase. No hesitation. Just questions. And a growing, gnawing dread. She moved along the side of the house like she'd done 1,000 times before, fingers tracing the grooves of the siding. Her hand stopped at the loose basement window, the one only she knew how to open from the outside. It still worked. Inside, everything smelled too clean, sanitized, like a model home waiting for a buyer. She crept up the stairs, pausing only when she passed the spot where her old bookshelf once stood, now gone, replaced with generic art. In the hallway closet she found it, a shoebox pushed far to the back, covered in a sweater that wasn't hers. Inside, Polaroids, handwritten notes, a flash drive. She sat on the floor, trembling, flipping through the photos, all of her. But something was off. The dates. A birthday party she never attended. A beach trip she never took. A photo of her sleeping in a bed that wasn't hers, taken last week. She stared at the images, bile rising in her throat. None of this made sense. And then, footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. She stood just as he appeared in the hallway, backlit by the dim glow of the kitchen. The man, calm, as if he'd been expecting her. "You shouldn't be here," he said. She clutched the photos. "What is this? What are you?" He didn't flinch, just walked forward, steady, like he had all the time in the world. "You weren't supposed to come back." That sentence hit like a gunshot, not because she was gone, because someone else had taken her place. She shook her head, stepping back toward the door, hands shaking. "This is my life." He just tilted his head almost kindly. "No, not anymore." Mira ran, through the hallway, out the back door, barefoot into the cold night. The man didn't follow, he didn't need to. This lie, this life, was already tightening around her like a noose. She sprinted down the empty street, lungs burning, mind racing. Was she insane? Was this real? Every shadow looked like it might open its mouth and speak her name. She collapsed near the park where she used to walk her cat. Her hands were scraped, her legs trembling. That's when she opened the notebook. It had been tucked inside the shoebox. She hadn't noticed until she shoved it into her jacket pocket. Names, first names, all women, 12 or more, some crossed out, some underlined. Next to hers, reintegrated, delay, noted. Mira stared at the words until they blurred. This wasn't just about her. This had happened before. Maybe it was happening right now. She stumbled to her feet, clutching the notebook like a lifeline. She had 2 choices now. Run, truly run. Find someone who would believe her, expose it, or vanish quietly like the others. Let herself be rewritten. The wind whispered down the empty street. Somewhere behind her, the porch light clicked on, and the door opened. They say memory is what makes us human. But what happens when the world remembers a version of you that you don't? When your name is spoken by strangers, your life rewritten with dates, documents, and stories you never lived. Mira once believed in solid things: addresses, birthdays, the smell of her favorite tea, the way sunlight fell on her kitchen tiles. Now she questions every flicker of familiarity. Maybe the scariest part isn't being forgotten. Maybe it's being replaced while you're still alive to watch it happen. And if the world forgets you, really forgets you, are you still real? Or are you just a glitch left behind? The truth? Some doors don't open again. Some names are meant to disappear. But if you're still here, still watching, maybe it means you're not alone. Stay curious, stay awake,